My name is Jim Barr, the founder of Seekers Media. I've also am joined by Tracy, who is a content strategist and social media expert here with us at Seekers, who's going to be jumping in on this presentation and an exclusive webinar for our Seekers Media ambassadors on how to use storytelling to generate response and create more engagement and really drive more social media fans and or interest your way. So first of all, of course, we really appreciate your time and interest in this social media ambassadors program, and certainly value you being a member of this team. Stay tuned for an exciting announcement. You'll be having an invitation coming up in October for our first ever Seekers Summit, which will be taking place in the East Kootenays coming up in the middle of the third week of October. And you'll see some more details here on that in the next week. But without further ado, we'll jump right into this webinar, providing you as ambassadors some more fuel for your fire in how to generate content that generates response. And certainly these next few minutes are just that. It's now been, 9 years that we launched Seekers Media. And so we come to you with a lot of insights in terms of the thousands of folks that we interact with on a regular basis through our social media channels here at Seekers. And certainly these pages are inclusive to some of those details on how to take back what we'll share with you today into your own world to help you drive the needle forward in terms of additional response, more followers and fans, and certainly driving more interest in what you're up to. So again, how to use storytelling to create raving social media fans. So without further ado, let's see what we've got here. So in this session and a quick overview, in the agenda, we've got the art of storytelling, best-in-class examples of great storytellers. We'll be talking about copywriting tips and tricks. There'll be some updates from Tracy just with regards to some news and some prizes for our ambassadors, for all of you. And then we'll have some time at the end to take some questions and answers. Those of you that are joining us, you do have the opportunity in which to, in the right corner there on your screen, there's a chat box, just a little speech bubble. So if you do have any questions through the presentation, then please jump in through that chat box, or as mentioned towards the end of the presentation, you will have a chance to put in your questions as well. So the objective of what we're doing here is to obviously give you some outcome with regards to gaining an understanding on how to craft a great story. We want to leave you with some tips and tricks for strong copywriting, and then also a clear understanding of how to apply this knowledge to your social media and to certainly your amplified posts and what you've been working on through the Ambassadors Network. So first up, storytelling. It's obviously a key piece to the puzzle in terms of generating engagement. There's no question that it's getting harder than ever in which to generate a response from audiences online. There's no question that there is more social media content out there than ever before. And so today's mission is to leave you with some tips so that you will take those tips away and become a little bit more crafty, a little bit more savvy, and a little bit more have a better appreciation and understanding around storytelling and again, driving that engagement or driving that interest. So it matters because this is in our DNA. We have for thousands of years, we look at First Nations cultures here, in the west of BC and or in the west of Canada. And of course, those First Nations communities for eons have been sharing stories about what types of herbs to collect if you had a sore stomach or headache, to different past stories of legends and or experiences. So all of you, in terms of being an ambassador to Seekers, are obviously interested in the whole art of storytelling. You're obviously interested in the whole concept about using social as a means to generate interest and response. And so for us as storytelling, it matters because it's just a human thing. It's just what we do as humans. We love to tell stories. And in my 15-year career now as a storyteller, across both video and editorial, and now certainly in social media, it's obviously a big passion of mine as well. And so to let you in on a quick story of how we got started here at Seekers, I thought it would be of value just to give you a quick background in terms of what are these brands at Snow and Festival, and now our latest at Zen Seekers, and how did they all come to be? So a quick story here on how the start of Seekers Media was formed. I got to take you back like 10 years now. So in 2008 or 2007, excuse me, I went to our editor at the newspaper, and this was when I was a writer for the Edmonton and Calgary Sun and contributing to their ski pages in the wintertime. And I went to our editor at the newspaper and I said, hey, this is again 2007. And I said to our editor, I said, hey, you know what? There's this thing called Facebook and another thing called TripAdvisor that's popped up, and it's starting to gain a lot of momentum. We should really look at investing in some opportunities with that, with the newspaper, in terms of allowing audiences who are looking at our content online to write comments and or correspond with us, and basically generate engagement from our stories. And he literally quoted to me, this was Gordon Norrie, the Edmonton publisher of the Sun, in 2007. He said, Jim, that's a great idea. He goes, but we're not interested in the internet. We're a newspaper business. And so with that, it was kind of food for thought in terms of which organization I was working with, and looking at this disruption that was happening in the digital landscape, and understanding that Facebook wasn't going anywhere, understanding that TripAdvisor was only going to gain more momentum, and you could see that. It was very easy for me to take a look at the landscape of the newspaper environment, who now you have a leader who wasn't adopting digital and or interested in it, to say, oh, okay, we're not on a ship that's moving forward, we're on a ship that's possibly sinking. And no disrespect to any colleagues who are still in the newspaper space, but obviously they've now had their challenges in which to catch up to organizations who are digital first. And so then in January of 2009, looking at that landscape in terms of the digital transition, if you will, launched Snow Seekers. I've been a huge, passionate skier and snowboarder for my entire life. And here I've been now a storyteller with the Edmonton newspaper for about 7-8 years, and now had this unbelievable opportunity. And that was to capitalize on the Winter Olympics of 2010 in Vancouver and Whistler, with the launch of something that was very passionate to me and very interesting to me. Obviously a portal or a network that specifically educates and inspires people around the winter experiences that exist here in this part of our world in Western Canada. And so Snow Seekers was born in January of 2009. We very quickly started to gain momentum and very quickly started to gain interest from the industry and advertisers and all of the things that come with developing a digital presence and ultimately a digital business. And so the next thing you know, we were starting to get asked, what are we doing in the summertime? And so with 2 years behind us in terms of understanding of how to turn Snow Seekers into a business, we then launched Festival Seekers. And so then that helped communities and destinations promote their festivals and their experiences. And then just recently, in the last couple of months, Zen Seekers was founded. And Zen Seekers was founded based on the whole idea of where people are going and their interests towards travel. Zen Seekers is dubbed the guide to travel that will transform you, because now we see more than ever people who are questing and seeking travel experiences that leave them enlightened, it leaves them feeling different, it leaves them feeling that they have wider eyes that they're appreciating to the world. So that's a quick story in terms of how Snow and Festival and now Zen Seekers was started. And so when you're thinking about who you are and what you're trying to achieve in your days online, think about what your story is and think about how you can apply that to make it relevant to your audience, and think about how you can start piecemealing that story up into maybe some really interesting and fascinating Facebook and Twitter or Instagram and or otherwise posts. So that's just our quick story here at Seekers. So let's look at some key elements of a good story. So, there's obviously a setup. We talked about the characters that are established. The conflict is introduced. So the conflict in my story, or the story of Seekers Media, was in the fact that we had this newspaper editor who was just not interested in digital. So that was our setup. The build, the attempt to resolve a conflict, but main characters failed to do so. The build-up. So the build-up for us was the timing. We had this Olympic moment that was coming in Vancouver in 2010. And for me, that was something that I was looking at in 2007, thinking, holy Dinah, this is an amazing opportunity to build something that will support what is happening with the attention that's going to be generated for Western Canada from those games. And then the payoff, that tension that's relieved as the main character resolves the conflict. So now we saw snow seekers taking off. And so now the payoff was in the fact that the industry coming to us and saying, hey, what are you guys doing in the summer? Which is where Festival Seekers was born. So we had this hero, we had the goal, we had the conflict, we had there's a mentor, there's people who were involved in helping us get the business moving. And there's a moral story to this in terms of the transfer of folks' interest from traditional to now digital media. So when you're thinking about this, look at the rule of thumb at the bottom here. Sorry about that. It keeps clicking off. It's the rule of thumb that the larger the buildup, the greater the payoff. So think about those cliffhanger moments. Think about those things that are really interesting and appealing to an audience, and how do you summarize that into 140 characters or into a short Facebook post that are going to generate that response. So the greater the buildup, the larger the buildup, the greater the payoff. Think about some of those key movies that you enjoy. We can't understate the importance of emotion. The idea of introducing a series of ups and downs creates this chemical reaction in the brain, and it makes the story more memorable. So that idea of emotion and drawing that idea of emotion and excitement, think about what gets you excited. And when you're thumbing through the internet and when you're thumbing through your photos that you've picked, and why is it that one picture of the baby goat gets you really excited or really stoked? What is it about the pictures of the mountains with the reflections in the lake that makes you think about how big the world is and how small we are within it? Those are the types of things that you want to capture within your social presence, because it's the idea of that importance of emotion, which is going to draw response from your audience, which is really key and something that we really try to do here at Seekers. So here's how it works. If we take a look at an epic movie like the Titanic, you had these original characters that were obviously getting onto this dynamic voyage, and you had this in the top right corner there, you had this overbearing mother who was obviously, stifling this young woman's opportunities in the world, which led her to a situation where she almost ended her world. But then all of a sudden she meets this new hero, and they fall in love and create this really incredible experience. And the next thing you know, they have this very traumatic experience together where this boat sinks, and they're both left in this situation where she ultimately loses this guy. And it obviously resonated. It was one of, if not the biggest movie on the planet Earth, because it drove emotion. It took us from the start, that it had a major buildup in the movie as it sequenced. And then it obviously had this substantial payoff in terms of all of our interest, because again, it was one of, if not the highest grossing movies in all-time history. So think about how you can build up to this, crescendo in your posts, or a series of posts that maybe allow audiences in a little bit at a time, and then you build that up over a series of, say, 6 or 8 posts, and then you get to this, announcement of whatever it might be. So we'll talk more about that in a couple seconds here. So in adding a personal anecdote, it obviously allows the creation of intimate connection with an audience. So in fact, in adding a story, it makes the facts and the stats 22 times more memorable. So any kind of personal insights that you have, any kind of feeling that you have towards an image that you took, or why you took that particular image, what was it about that one little video clip? Why is that one place so fascinating to you? What is it about that one character that you met on your travels that was just left you thinking about them that time, after you left that destination? So again, adding this personal anecdote creates that intimate connection with the audience. And in fact, it's adding in a story, making facts and stats 22 times more memorable. So here's some best practices. And again, this is being recorded. So those of you that are taking notes, great, but you will have the opportunity. We'll share this link with you post this presentation. So best practices, how do you get a great hook in 8 seconds or less? What is it about it? You think about the attention span that we have as humans now, it's actually less than a goldfish. A goldfish has an attention span of somewhere around 11 to 12 seconds. Ours is 8. I bet you if we check this stat in a few years, it'll be around 6. The more that we sit in front of this machine, this computer, the less our attention span is, because there's just so much coming through the box. So have a great hook. Is there a did you know? Is there a really fascinating fact? Is there something that really got you excited and interested? Then that's something that you need to share. Stories that are about transformation are always incredible. I mean, if it's something that you went to and you experienced and you came back feeling different, share that reason. That's an emotional something that happened. So what was it about that destination or about that experience that left you feeling different, and why? What was it that transformed you? You know, did you pick up some education about a new language? Did you pick up some education around a new way to live, or a new culture, or a new experience that people need to try? And what was it exactly about that that transformed you? Be authentic, be yourself. So important. Don't put on some spammy machine that just constantly peddles out stuff that you see from other places and that you're stealing or that you're not authentically creating on your own. Audiences smell that. They'll instantly smell the cheese and they're out of there. So be authentic. It's really important. Don't be clever, be vulnerable, and be honest. Again, that emotional piece and speaking from your heart. Don't try to hide. Sometimes we've seen folks who will try to create these really whimsical or really clever sort of posts, but they don't really work. Keep in mind, 8 seconds or less. You have like micro moment in order to grab their attention. And if you're not putting out something that is very honest and or vulnerable, then people will smell it and they'll be out. Don't tell people what the point is. Let them feel it. So it's not about the what, it's about the why or the how. And what is it about the why? What is it about the how that was interesting to you is what you need to share with your audience. And in traveling down to San Francisco, as I do on a regular basis, I've had an opportunity in order to sit down with the folks from Google on a quite regular basis. And this is a key point. Key tip from Google: be timely, be relevant, and be helpful. So important. We actually have a great story that we'll share with you about sort of the way that things have transferred to how people are searching online now. People are actually searching sentences. They're like, how do I learn to play the violin? When normally, maybe 10 years ago, we would have put in playing the violin. And you'll see in terms of some of the details within the story we'll share with you, it's about being helpful and it's about being relevant and being timely. So think about your content calendar. If you have one, that's great. If you don't, let us know and we can help you get sorted on what it is. Hootsuite has a great template that you can use. But in that, be relevant. So right now, it's the end of August. We're moving into September and October. There's lots of people who are going to be looking for hiking details right now. There's lots of people who are going to be looking for information about farmers markets or harvests, back to school tips, back to work tips, how to become a better person. Most of us take the summer off. Maybe we didn't work out the way that we wanted to. But now coming into the fall, are there any tips that you can provide that you can share with your audience that are going to give them the opportunity in order to learn by being timely and being relevant and being helpful? So here's an interesting one. This is according to Pixar. Obviously, this is Disney's Pixar, one of the biggest cartoon and or movie producers on the planet. We've got another link that we're going to share with you in follow-up. But take a look at some of these stories and take a look at some of these ideas in terms of, you know, pull apart the stories you like. So take a story. If you see a story that you really love on the internet, pull out little bits of it. Pull out maybe like 4 or 5 pieces of information from that story and use those as individual social media posts. Because what you'll learn in them is a part of you. You've got to recognize it before you can use it. So really, you know, when you're looking through a story or when you're looking through that image, what is it about that story? What is it about that image that, again, excites you? And how do you then pass it back to your audience in some snackable and shareable ways? So what is it? Why is this story so important? Why do you have to tell this story? So what is it? And again, you know, what's the heart of it? So really give your audience, you think about being vulnerable and you think about being helpful and you think about being relevant. So what is it about that particular story that gets you stoked? No work is ever wasted. If it's not working, let go and move on. It'll come back around and be useful later. So maybe you're posting stuff on the internet or maybe you're posting stuff on your social channels and you're not seeing the engagement that you'd like to see. That's okay. You're trying and you're learning. So it's so important in terms of understanding that that work was not wasted. It's just a stepping stone in order to get you to the next level. So if you're not already on the whole insights within Facebook or you're using analytics.twitter.com, Start to really understand some of those numbers and really appreciate what is it that your audience is responding to, and then rinse and repeat on that. And of course, you have to know yourself. You have to know what you're about and what you're really interested in. This is about being authentic. So by understanding what you're interested in, what your passionate is, it really makes an audience, it makes it easy for the audience to understand who you are and what you do. I recently spoke at a conference, a media conference down the state, and whoever's phone's ringing, if you could just turn your phone to mute, I'd appreciate that. And there was a huge series of bloggers in the room, and I presented about the story of Seekers Media, and afterwards I had a lineup of folks coming up to me, and they were these family bloggers. And they were different folks from different parts around the States. And they were like, well, how did you really do what you did? How did you build this company? And how did you now have this thing that's been 9 years running with a force of over 60 people attached to it? And it was about, for me, I knew myself because I knew that I was really interested in skiing and snowboarding. I'm a diehard fan of events, and I love the whole idea of travel that transforms you. So for me, what we've done at Seekers is we've built brands around what I'm particularly, and our team is particularly passionate about. So by knowing yourself, if you're a really big fan of culinary, or if you're a really big fan of art, or if you're a really big fan of whatever, zero in on that. And that's what you should be passing on to your audience, because that's what they'll appreciate as authentic. And then again, what is the essence of your story? So what's the thing that's out there that people can really resonate to? And so again, these things at Pixar really speak to that whole idea of being authentic, timely, relevant, and helpful. And they actually have an online storytelling course that we'll send you that you could participate in, just to, again, help ramp up your interest in the whole art of storytelling, because it does come back in a big way in terms of helping you succeed online and through social media. So let's take a look at some of the best in class here. So again, some examples of what's happening. It's not about the what, but about the how. Really important and a really key thing to think about the hows, the did you knows, the whys. Those are the things that'll generate response. So if you get a chance, take a look. I think we've got the video here. Let's watch this. This one here is from the Iceland Academy, and it's by Tourism Iceland, understanding about why Iceland and why someone would want to travel there. Now, if you haven't seen these videos before, they're hilarious. And I'm just going to take a look. Awesome. And are you getting audio?
No.
There is no audio there?
No.
No? Okay. Sorry about that. We will. Oops. Is that working now?
No.
Okay. So basically what this video speaks to, and we'll send you the example in a link so you can watch it later, but it just speaks to these ambassadors, which are basically you, who are sharing all these details about Iceland and what to pack and basically how to travel to Iceland. And anyways, they throw a bit of comedy in there, of course, to make it authentic and interesting and keep people committed to the idea of traveling to Iceland. And so they've done a really good thing here in enrolling. You can actually enroll in the Iceland, what does it say here? It says, one second. Give me 1 second. Oops. So look at this. Enroll now for Iceland Academy. So it's literally telling you how to come to Iceland and travel. So again, we'll share you the link and we'll share you some of the things that you can take a look at and think about that. It's not about the what, it's about the how. So they've actually suggested that audience can enroll in an academy on how to travel to Iceland. So for you as ambassadors here in Western Canada, we just throw some ideas out there. You know, how was the Rockies formed? What is it that someone needs to do in order to make the most of their time at a place like Dinosaur Provincial Park? Did you knows and that whole hashtag DYK, those are massively engaging. They're massively interesting to audiences because, again, you're passing on maybe some secrets or some local knowledge, and people really dig that stuff. What is it about the best, why is the best cycling routes across the Okanagan? Are there any tips that you can provide them about cycling in the Okanagan? Are there any details that people need to know that you've learned? What is that river, that flows through your community? Why is it so important to people? What was the history of it? How did it serve the community back in the day when steamships ran up and down it? History is another big thing. Of course, Throwback Thursdays and or Travel Tuesdays, where you can start to theme out your calendar week and start to put out some information that, again, is timely, relevant, and helpful. So here's an example just from us at Seekers. This was really simple. It's like Alberta's Best Kept Music Fest kicks off the season. Well, all we did in the post was just put it's May 5th to 6th. So it wasn't really, it's not about like, hey, you need to come here and do this, because that would be the what. It was more about like because it's being timely, relevant, and helpful as we're passing on a secret to our audience about an event that they might want to get in on. So some copywriting tips. The lead, hook them early. So again, we talked about that 8-second rule. How do you grab someone's attention on a micro moment when they're looking through their phone and they're thumbing through and they come across your Facebook post? So here's some examples. 6 days, that's how long you have until 65% of your body is turkey. So it's a definition. The lead is the opening, the leading paragraph of an article, an essay, a book chapter, or other written work that summarizes its main ideas. So this is more relevant to Facebook and those of us that are really busy on Facebook. It's obviously a lead to grab them in that hook. So if, here's a stat, did you know that there's 800 or 8,700 hours in a year, and that in 1 hour in which a stand will be dispensing free latkes with homemade applesauce and sour cream in Harvard Square. Yeah, it's not fair, but 60 minutes is 60 minutes. So it's kind of cheeky, right? Because it's giving people an idea. It's like, hey, did you know there's 8,700 hours in a year? Well, you got free food coming at you if you get out to this one particular event that's happening. Here's a quick throw, just in order for anyone that's a big Star Wars fan. Ewoks, talk about living. You think about Ewoks on screen and how they interacted with each other and what they did. They loved life. So it was just that simple. Those of us that are Star Wars fans would instantly respond to that because, of course, Ewoks, we think of it and we're like, oh yeah, those are the coolest guys ever. And then talk about living. You're like, oh yeah, they did know how to live. So you think about that hook and how to lead and how to hook them early. So here's some copywriting formulas. So take a look at some of these in terms of some of these examples. This guy here, he's Kevin Lee. If you don't follow him on Twitter, it's a great idea to do so because he's got a lot of really good tips. But here's a Wednesday webinar, answering all your questions on SEO, no matter how long it takes, only 5 seats left. So he's creating some urgency there. He's creating a response. He's asking for the response. If you want people to retweet something, actually literally put in there, if you find this interesting, RT, retweet. Ask your audience to do things for you, or else you'll never get them in order to get on with it. So remember everything, even your nephew's birthday. Try the web's most popular to-do list. This is being helpful and relevant to me because I'm like, oh crap, you know what? I can't remember someone's birthday. I need to click on this link because I want to get that remember. I want to be on that most popular to-do list. I want to understand that. So think about some hooks and how you can do it, what you're doing in order to obviously drive that interest. So here's another one, that bonus formula. So the star through the chain to the hook. So 0 emails, an empty to-do list, free time, how the business world's getting the best things done. So for somebody, I don't know, like somebody like you or me who gets a multiple amount of emails every day and then continually adds to a to-do list that seems to be never ending, the concept of having 0 emails and a to-do list that's empty is really fascinating for me because that means that I'll probably have more free time. So I'm really interested in this. So what they've done is they've, created the star, 0 emails. They've created a chain, an empty to-do list, free time. So you've driven me along and now I'm like more interested and more interested. And then here's how the world's best businesses get things done. So that's your hook in order to draw them to the link. So look at what's happened in this one post of 140 characters. You've created that hook, 0 emails. Like, whoa, wait a minute, an empty to-do list. Whoa, what? And free time. Hello, you got me. I'm hooked. And then how businesses are getting things done, and then to the link. So what to include? So when you're thinking about how you approach your social media, you can look at it as a forest. So when you're stuck, choose one of these tactics and try it out. So is it about some really interesting facts? Are you repeating? And you can definitely use repetition. We want to see examples. We want to see statistics. And people love things in threes. So what's wrong with sharing the top 3 secrets to your community? What's wrong with sharing the top 3 things that you need to know about biking in the Okanagan or hiking in the Canadian Rockies. Those are timely, relevant, and helpful tips that will generate a response from audiences. Opinions are massive as well, because that's, again, authentic and interesting to an audience because you're being genuine. And of course, you can never underestimate the whole idea of a cliffhanger. Nothing draws the reader in more than leaving them hanging. So it's like, did you know? Click here to find out the local secret about traveling to Cranbrook. Or click here, did you know that Vancouver Island is home to over 150 different caves you can explore? Find out where they are now. Click here. Things like that. Create yourself a cliffhanger that leaves your audiences wanting more. So your checklist can run through, and obviously you're not going to do this for every post, but at least you start thinking about some of these things. Is it thumb stopping? People are thumbing through and looking through a Facebook page on a small phone. Is it thumb stopping? Is there emotion? You know, what kind of humor is there? Look at what they're doing with that Iceland example. Did you keep it simple? Would you share this? And obviously you want to check your grammar. If you, a tip there is Grammarly, Grammarly.com. We'll make a reference and share that with you as well. It's a great free tool that'll check your posts to make sure that they're grammarly correct before you hit send. And did you invite conversation? Are you asking for a response? Are you asking the audience to retweet? Are you asking them for their comments? Here's my top 5 hikes. What's yours? Those are really important too. And obviously the biggest thing here is if it gets you excited. Does it make you curious? It's obviously generating emotion in your own self. If that post or that comment or that did you know or that photo is driving that interest. If it's getting you excited and it's getting you curious, then those are things that you want to share, because if they get you excited, then the chances are that it will interest your audiences too. So I'm going to pass it over to Tracy here, who's going to talk through some of the ambassador situations and then some of the updates there. So Tracy, take it away.
Hi, ambassadors. Just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us. So I just wanted to remind you that we do send out a newsletter every month with stats from the ambassador program on Amplify. So every month we're going to send you which posts performed the best, who shared the most posts. We feature an ambassador, which could be you, and we also let you know who the prize winners are. So if you weren't aware of this, we are giving out a $50 gift card from Amazon.ca, one for each of the top share and having the top performing post. And if you had both, you get 100. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, just keep sharing all your awesome content on Amplify, and you could be the winner.
I think it was over like 400,000. We reached over 400,000 with the network this month, wasn't it, Tracy?
Something like that. We'll have to wait for the newsletter. It's going to come out in the next 5-6 days here, so watch your inbox for that.
There's your cliffhanger.
Yeah. Okay, and we also wanted to pass on this opportunity for you to go through Hootsuite's social marketing course. They have this really, really, really amazing social marketing course. The course is completely free, and you can get started right away. Basically, it'll help you attract new clients, enhance job prospects, advance your career. If you're just doing this for your own education, it's amazing, but it also gives you total opportunity if you ever want to work with clients, teaching them about social marketing or doing social marketing for businesses. So the course is free, but at the end there's a certification exam, and then you get the certification by Hootsuite. So if you want to take the exam as a special gift to you, we're giving you 50% off of this exam, and there's a coupon code here. So it's SeekersAmb 217SM. We'll send that to you with the link. But yeah, so we just wanted to pass that on to you.
As you've been experiencing through Amplify and your work through Hootsuite, they're a big partner of ours here at Seekers. And so we highly recommend you take a look at this Hootsuite Academy. If you haven't had a chance yet to jump onto hootsuite.com/education, do it. There is a wealth of information and detail in there that I know would be of great value to you, and we certainly encourage you to continue your education in digital and social. The stuff isn't going anywhere. Social media is only becoming a more pivotal component to any business, any destination, and any association's marketing mix and or communications mix. And so for you to invest in your own self in terms of taking this course and or continuing to learn from Hootsuite and us here at Seekers, hats off to you, because it's really going to set your stage up for some success moving forward. And you know, the world's your oyster nowadays. I mean, literally, like, look at this. I mean, 9-10 years ago, it was from a white page, and now we have a company that involves just over 60 people. If we actually include all of our ambassadors, which is 180 people now strong, we're pushing just over 240 people that are a part of the Seekers Media community. So there's opportunity for you to do something similar, and certainly Hootsuite and us here at Seekers are happy to help along. So with that, we want to thank you, and certainly take any questions that that you all might have with regards to copywriting and or digital strategies. So is there any questions that we can take while we're on the line here?
Can you hear my voice?
Sure can, Janice.
Okay. So several months back, you gave us a BC marketing branding video. Could you send me that link?
Yes, we can.
And another question about, so you asked them a question. Did you know that getting to Bear Lake only takes 3 hours or something like that? Does that make it a question, or do you ask them how long it takes to get to Bear Lake?
Yeah, I mean, you want to play with it and see what kind of response you'll get either time, right? So really, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, well, first of all, Bear Lake. I mean, I have a question in terms of like, where is that and why do I want to go there? So what is it about Bear Lake that gets you really excited would be my approach to it first.
Okay.
So what is it or why is Bear Lake a destination that everyone needs to go to? So just that. So what is it that makes that lake unique, and why is it different? And so by doing that, then now you've spiked your audience's interest, and then you can give them the education of how long it takes to get there. So I think it's important to just keep yourself back to 30,000 feet sometimes, because it's not about the fact in the sense of like, oh, it takes 3 hours to get there. It's more in the sense of, why do I want to go there in the first place?
Why go there? Okay. On every single
Anybody
place.
else? Yeah, I mean, obviously you're giving audiences tips and tricks. I mean, Janice, you're local to the region of East Kootenays, and you have a wealth of detail in terms of what and why these places are so unique and what it is that makes them special. So that's valued information. People from Vancouver or Calgary or whatever that are questing and seeking unique places to go hiking or to go exploring, that's all valued information for them. So by just framing it in a way that allows them to easily assume the reason of what and why they need to be there makes it really engaging, because now you've got them hooked, and then you become that source, and really you become, you know, what you want to do, and being that authentic and understanding who you are as a person, and or with your interest in media, you know, what is it that you do that you bring value to the greater community. And so Janice, just for everybody that's on the line, you know, she's been a longtime guidebook author and has generated a multitude of books about hiking in the region of the East Kootenays. Well, you are a huge resource for so many people around the world who want to do exactly that. They want to go hiking in some unique, amazing places. And so you have a ton of details that you can share. And it's a program that was started a bunch of years back by the Canadian Tourism Commission, and it was called Locals Know. And it won multiple awards around the world, because all it was doing was it was sharing local insights about different places around Canada that people needed to experience. But it was a locals know based on the facts, and it was based on details, and it was based on how and why of these particular places. So it's called Locals Know. So think of yourself as that locals know for your particular destination or your region, and then think about the secrets that you have that you might share that would give people some helpful and timely relevant detail in making the world a better place, because now they end up going to somewhere they didn't expect to because you got them on the hook with whatever that particular how or why. So if there's no other questions, we can conclude it at that. Again, it's been recorded, so we certainly appreciate your time and energy today. And just last call if there's any other questions. So we want to thank you for joining us, and as appreciated, we have those prizes. So please continue to do what you're doing in terms of the shares and the support that you're bringing to us, and certainly yourself through the Amplify relationship and us at Secret Media and being an ambassador. So again, we thank you for that time and commitment you've made, and hopefully you're seeing some strong value from us, and we continue to build this out. To stay tuned, there's lots more coming with Seekers this fall, and we've got a lot of exciting announcements coming. So watch your inbox, and thanks again for joining us today. Bye for now.